The Council's priorities are very clear. We believe very much in a low council tax. We believe in clean streets. It's something that's very important to all our residents, and equally it's important that we protect the vulnerable in society. Low council tax is something that matters a great deal to many of the residents in Westminster. Many of the more affluent people could afford to pay a higher council tax, but it's actually the majority of people on the low to middle incomes where a low council tax really matters. And so it's something that's actually very important to the residents of Westminster. It's something we believe in, and we believe actually that we can deliver quality services at a low council tax as well. We're having to reduce expenditure over the next 2 years by around about sort of £60 million. So it's a very large sum of money that we've actually got to reduce our costs by. We're going to deliver around about 80 to 85% of those reductions from back office reductions. So we're doing pretty well on that side of it. But the scale of the reductions involved are such that there will be some service reductions as well to make up the balance. When we talk about back office and frontline services, what we mean by those sort of terms, the front line is very much people on the streets, keeping the streets clean, collecting the rubbish, the social workers, the youth workers, people that work in our leisure centres, our libraries. That's what we mean by the front line. When we talk about the back office, we mean the people that are working in our offices, supporting some of these services, but they're not actually frontline delivery people. So when we look at those sort of costs and those people, we think we can make greater reductions from that side without people noticing big changes in the services that they receive. What we've been trying to do is to cut out various layers of management. I think in these difficult times it's very important to get as many people delivering frontline services as possible, and also to limit as much as possible how much bureaucracy and how much management activity we have going on in the background. There are no plans in Westminster to change the number of collections that we have for sort of refuse. I mean, we pride ourselves on having at least 2 collections per week for residents. That's going to continue, and recycling collections are going to continue as well. There's a very simple answer to that question. There are no plans to be closing children's centres in Westminster. Sports and leisure centres have been a fantastic success in Westminster. There's a huge number of people use all our sports and leisure centres. Unlike some councils who are announcing closures of swimming pools and leisure centres, in Westminster we've absolutely no plans to close any of these facilities. Actually people being healthy in terms of mind and sort of body is something we believe very, very strongly in. And we've invested with our partners huge amounts of money over the last sort of few years into those sort of centres. They're going to continue, they're going to thrive, they're going to get better sort of over time. So it's something which we believe is a top priority and one that we're very proud of. Westminster is a very busy city, and we have about 1 million people that come and work in the city every day. We are one of the largest business and economic areas, not just in London but in the country. And so we actually believe very firmly in looking after business interests, because looking after business interests is actually what helps our residents as well. And so we work very, very closely with all the businesses that operate in the city, through some of the bid activity and through some of the relationships that we have with both small businesses and large businesses. So we believe that the success of business in Westminster is something that makes a huge difference to the success of our residents in the city as well. As far as fees are concerned, the government is looking at some changes to the structure of how this sort of operates, and we plan to work within a sort of new structure. I think what will happen in the future is that people are likely to pay a charge that is proportionate to the type of development they're planning to sort of put together. So I think people that are looking at individual schemes for their own sort of house, they're not going to see dramatic increases in their fees. But I think what will happen is that people are looking at large-scale developments are likely to pay a more proportionate fee, relative to the size of that development. I think what's important about whether we talk about volunteering, we talk about big society or any of these sort of terms, what's really important is people's activity and responsibility in society generally. I think people, people want to be involved, want to do things for their community. And what we've always believed in Westminster is it's not about the state or the council actually making people do activities. It's actually about the council helping people facilitate and actually get involved in things they want to get involved with. And so I think sometimes the terminology can get in the way. What actually really matters is people doing things for the benefit of their community. Ward budgets are something that we believe has been a tremendous success in Westminster. We have to balance the budget overall, and we have to look very carefully as to how much money is to put into every programme. So as far as ward budgets are concerned, the amount of ward budgets will be a little bit lower for the next sort of 1 or 2 years, but actually having ward budgets is something we intend to continue. We're living in difficult financial times, and the same as that we're having to reduce our budgets overall, and the national government's having to pay back the deficit that it's inherited. There will be difficult times for all sorts of groups, but I think the key thing is that our intention is that there will be funding for various sort of groups. There will be the council working with sort of various groups to move things forward. But what people will have to do is to find different ways of doing things. We're having to do it in the council, and I think many groups will have to do the same. But they'll find a willing partner in the council willing to work with them in these difficult financial times. And I think people will still be able to deliver high quality services through the council and through sort of local groups. But what people will have to do is to deliver services in a very different way. I think it's a good question as to what residents can help their community. People can get involved in neighbourhood police activities, people can get involved in licensing activities, planning activities. There's lots of things that people can get involved in the formal process. But I think the most important way that individuals can get involved is to actually sort of spend time at their local libraries, to spend time working with the community. Often at some of the old people's homes we have, there's a role actually for people to do as much or as little as they're able to do to actually sort of improve their communities.